I'm sorry, I forgot. I thought we were on. I apologize, all of you who were listening. I started out with this song. Oh my God. I started the music. I've been talking for the last 10 minutes, thinking you were hearing me. And I got a text. Thank you, OV. Oh my God. 60 years old, I just forget stuff. I'm sorry. I wanted to talk about tonight the science and source of relationship. Good morning, evening, friends. That's actually Charles Holt singing Stevie Wonder's song. To everybody, what I'm about to say, and I'm going to talk about that tonight, so I'll go over just a few minutes, okay? I apologize. This could mean the world's disaster if we don't fix this thing about love. Can change your laughter to tear and pain. Love's in need of love today. Hear this. Don't delay. Right away. Hates going round, breaking many hearts, yes. Before it's gone too far, we gotta stop. So I'm gonna talk about it tonight. Okay. Oh my gosh, I apologize for starting a little late. I got distracted. I'm talking and going on. Hate is going around, and I want to talk about the science and source of relationships, love, the fantasies of love, and the fallacies of love, and yet the strength and force of love. Hate is a feeling of intense passion or dislike for something or someone. So hate and love run a very close second to each other, because love is a passion, and hate is a passion, and nobody can hate you like somebody you love. Nobody can hurt you like somebody you love or who loves you. There's a fine dichotomy there. And we'll talk about some of these interesting things. You're going to hear some stuff tonight that you may not hear anyplace else or you haven't heard, but you may have thought about it, but it's a little bit of a difficult, awkward connection, this whole idea of love. So I'm going to talk about the source and science of meaningful rather than mean relationships. Some of you are in very happy, very unhappy relationships, as well as those of you who are very happy, meaningful, sourceful relationships. But I want to deal with those who are in pain tonight. And relationships is the way in which two or more people or organizations regard and or behave toward one another, how you relate to one another. So we're going to talk about that. Just before we do, we're just about a month away from our fall leadership summit here in Chicago, Monday, October 14th through Wednesday at noon, the 16th, at the Congress Plaza Hotel, 520 South Michigan, right here in Chicago. The purpose is a gathering of what I call cultural creatives and spiritual progressives interested in finding new ways to address and navigate this so-called new paradigm and adjust to this new normal, relating faith to culture. Is it real? Will it last? How will your church or the church or supposedly the community of faith relate to this new normal? Will we remain relevant? That's important. So what is this new normal? How do we navigate it? We're going to talk about this new meta. I get calls today. I got calls from pastors locally, pastors across the country. My friend Darius Brooks is going to have his keyboards there and help us. And I even talked to Dr. Ray Hagins. You might have heard of him. He's out of Atlanta. Brilliant, earned doctorate degree, a scholar, an academician, and a preacher from the same background as that I am, Church of God in Christ. But he's sort of on the edge, and he's moving into wider ways of thinking and being very impressed with him, interested in getting to know him better. Met Leandria this week, who won on the Sunday Best. She was here with Ricky Dillard in Chicago singing her brains off. I mean, almost a single butt off. They're all just incredible. Her husband was there, her little boy, whom I met. They have a real unusual way of thinking about evangelism and ministry. She actually passes out cigarettes. She pastors to street people to get them to come to church. I hope she comes. I want you to hear her story. So we're going to meet very casually, no shirt, ties and suits and hats and all that stuff. Cutoffs, jogging outfits, slippers, just whatever. Everybody's going to be relaxed, Just a small group of us probably, in a small room at the Congress Hotel overlooking Grant Park here, very beautiful in Chicago. There are other hotels that are more elaborate, and you can book your room there. We have a block of rooms at the Congress Hotel, and where you can come. But there's all kinds of. You may have a favorite Chicagoan hotel. I know I do. And but you could go to any of them, and then a cab drive from any hotel downtown is 5 minutes. And maybe $5. So it's not going to be difficult at all. Anyway, we're going to come together and spend 3 days just interacting. Not a lot of big name preachers in a big program and all that stuff. We're going to be in the same room, this quaint little room called the Francis Room, right there at the Congress Hotel, overlooking Grant Park and the trees, and we can actually see the Buckingham Fountains, which probably won't be going by then, but you can see the lake, the Lake Michigan. So there's a $150 registration fee, which includes 2 continental breakfasts and lunch, and all the conference materials. We all have an opening session Monday night where we'll just interact and hang out and get each other's names. We'll go around the room, and depends on how many are here, of course. But we need a $50 deposit due September 9th. That's next Monday. Then the balance is due by September 23rd. All registrations received after September 23rd will have to be in full, the whole $150. But you can reserve your place tonight. Just go to the site, or you're on the site, and just use your bank card and register for the conference, and I know you'll have a great time. A block of rooms at the Congress Hotel. Go to bishoppearson.com, which is where you are, for more information, or pass that information out. Some of the registration info is there. The email that you can email is CDP, that's my initials, Carlton W. Pearson, CDP at bishoppearson.com, CDP at bishoppearson.com, or call 312-546 3045. That's 312 area code 546 3045 for more information. Tonight we're going to talk about the source and science of meaningful rather than mean relationships, as I said earlier. We celebrated our 20th anniversary, Gina and I, this Monday, September 3rd. We got so much response. I mean, literally thousands of you made comments and viewed the picture and just said some of the kindest things, and I was deeply touched by that. But we sometimes we come across as making you think that marriage is the easiest thing we've ever done, or that anyone can do, and that's just not true. So we're going to talk about relationships and getting along and lasting. My parents have been married 66 years, and we've seen the dynamics shift and change and adjust between them as they've parented 7 children. 6 really, they had 7. The first one lived only 14 hours, my oldest sister Caroline. Then the rest of us are still in existence today. My dad's 86. In fact, my dad will be 87 next month, and my mom will be 84 November 3rd. There are possibly and probably more people in love with love than in love with people. Love stories, romance novels, things like 50 Shades of Grey, romantic fantasies, etc., are for the most part exactly that, fantasies. And a fantasy is the faculty or activity of imagining things that are usually impossible or improbable. But you have this image. We have this image of love and marriage and family and getting along and walking along the beach holding hands and going shopping together and eating together and making passionate love at night. And we've done all that in our 20 years. Paris, London, Hawaii, Vegas, Alaska, Gina and I have been. We've just been a lot of places and had a lot of fun. Vancouver, BC. The greatest cities and hotels over the 20 years. Have 2 amazing children. But boy, have sparks flown. It's never an easy thing. It's a fantasy, a sort of like a fanciful mental image, typically one in which a person dwells at length or repeatedly, and which reflects their consciousness or their conscious or unconscious wishes. That's what a fantasy is. We dwell on these. We imagine them. Even when things are horrible, we still imagine that it can be better. That's how we survive life. That's how we survive love. The concept most people have of love is more of a fantasy than a reality, at least when it comes to actually experiencing it. You want to experience this wonderful, passionate, happy-go-lucky, clear concept of fun and commitment and covenant, but that's a fantasy that we all have the privilege of fantasizing about. Even after marriage, even after the children are born, Even after they're grown and out of the house and you have grandchildren, you still fantasize about a wonderful, perfect relationship. So 20 years. I want to talk philosophically tonight as well as clinically about it. When I say clinical, the clinical approach, and some therapists and counselors and coaches will take a clinical approach. It's efficient, but it's unemotional, and it's usually totally detached from the emotion of the issue. Marriage and love is a very emotional, commotional, and devotional issue. It's a subject that raises eyebrows. It's a subject that causes pain. Also, one of the most self-centered and self-serving words in the human dialect or human dialogue is love. It's a very self-centered and self-serving word. Now, that may pop your little bubble of the fantasy you have for it, and I want to do that tonight because if you're told all these things in advance and you don't know how until you get into it, that it takes good old-fashioned hard work. You can't be a kid hardly and last. You got to be a mature adult. You have to have some very responsible ways of looking and thinking about things and appraising yourself. You really get to know who you are and who you aren't when you're immature. I mean, it takes some time. So when you reconsider what love is and why you call yourself in love, which you have to do that a lot when you're in love or when you love somebody, even your parents or siblings or children. Not just the eros love, which is the romantic, erotic love, but the platonic love. Plato said that you can actually be in love and never be intimate physically or sexually. It comes from Plato. Or just the what you call phileo, brotherly love. Greek word, phileo, philos in Greek. Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love. There's those kinds of relationships. But all of them are costly. And again, nobody can hurt you or hate you like somebody you love or who loves you. So marriage can be a form of insanity. When you think about entering a monogamous covenant relationship with another human being that's supposed to last until death do you part. And that could be death of love or death of joy or death of passion. Not just physical death doing you part, but death of vision. Some marriages die because death actually does them part. There's no passion there anymore. So making the commitment of marriage, I like to call it, and I don't mean to be unkind or disrespectful or even irreverent, but marriage can be a form of insanity where the only asylum for or from it is adjustment in thinking or an elevation of consciousness, which I hope you'll get that tonight or whenever you're listening to this, because sometimes the situation doesn't change, just your appraisal of it or perception of it has to. Some of you are in very strained relationships now, and you're not going to divorce, and yet you have divorce, two forces, division, two visions that oppose. You get that? Diversion, two versions of how you think the thing ought to happen, but they're in disagreement. And so there's pain. I talked to a minister just this week who said, my marriage is on life support. My marriage is operating on fumes. We're out of gas. And they'd been married decades. For the 42 years I've been pastoring or ministering and counseling. In fact, I used to counsel marriages when I was like 16-year-old and I still in high school, and conducting revivals among churches, preachers. And their marriages were horrible. And I wondered then, is that possible? How can people of faith have very unfaithful or unhappy relationships? So falling or being in love is giving someone your heart and trusting that they won't break it or they won't destroy it. Falling or being in love is giving someone your heart and trusting they won't break it or they won't destroy it. But the opportunity is there. It's a very vulnerable position to be in. You are naked and open, and you are subject to peril and to hurt, and maybe even harm. I've counseled people who were not just hurt in the marriage. They were harmed by it and carried that pain and that paralysis the rest of their lives emotionally. That doesn't have to be, but you have to do it. Gina and I knew each other 3 months before we got married. So we committed. I was pastoring. I'd been pastoring 14 years at that time. So I had to say, because I was doing something I wouldn't encourage anybody in my ministry, in premarital counseling to do. That is, marry when you only know somebody 3 months. Because I was 40 years old. When you do that at 20, oh my God, it's hard enough at 40. At 20, when you don't know what you know, you don't know what you think, you just, going through the fantasies and the infatuations with the love. It can be very, very difficult. But I committed to postmarital counseling, not just premarital, because premarital counseling, you ain't thinking right. You just all Google-eyed and in love, and you got all these fantasies that I just described earlier. But we committed to postmarital, after we were married, as a man of God, and as a bishop, and as a pastor, and all that, with thousands of members, and hundreds of counseling sessions myself, and a full-time counseling center with all my counselors with master's degrees, my top people. We still had to humble ourselves and commit to postmarital counseling. Because sorting and navigating through and negotiating love and relationships is not for the timid, and it's not for the immature, spiritually or psychologically. So the source and science of meaningful rather than mean relationships. There's a lot of mean people out there, a lot of angry, hurt people. The person, I posted this today, the person you're with most in life is yourself. And if you don't like yourself, you're always going to be with somebody you don't like. I'm quoting Mark Lewis, who's an American poet, a brilliant thinker. The person you're with most in life is not your spouse or your children. It's you. You're with you. And if you don't like yourself, you're always going to be with someone you don't like. Now, I had to consider that before I got married. I had to love and like me enough to be comfortable with me enough to be with me alone and without noise. I used to have a struggle eating by myself because I saw my grandmother, who was dying of cancer at the time, eat alone. And she would have been alone if I wasn't there. The rest of the family didn't go into the restaurant with her. And I went with her, and I saw her. We just come from church. And I don't want to get into that whole story because it gets me emotional. I've told it another time on one of my lectures. But I had to learn how to be by myself. As you've heard me say before, I've flown as far away as Hawaii and Israel by myself back when I was single. And I got comfortable with me. And if you don't like you, no one else is going to really like you. So if you don't like you, it will be difficult, if not altogether impossible, for you to find or perceive others who do. If you don't like you, you're going to perceive that other people don't like you. This is sort of a reoccurring human conundrum or challenge. Liking yourself, loving yourself, and perceiving that you are liked and loved by others, even people to whom you are in covenant relationship. Or to believe that your parents not only love you but really like you, because most parents love their children, but they don't always like them. Most siblings love their siblings, but many don't like their siblings. A lot of you call yourselves loving God, but you can't stand him or it. That him, when I say him, the it God, is a little bit more negotiable, a little bit more. But that he that we've been brought up to love is mean and mad and angry and wrathful and jealous and vindictive and all the things that you shouldn't be in a marriage. Right? So, screw that one. Get rid of that one and start all over again. That word came in my mind, so I said it. Oh my God. The key to developing and maintaining successful and meaningful relationships starts with the one that you have with yourself. I posted this today. Don't ignore your own self and soul. Become intentionally acquainted with both who you are and who you're not, and more with who you are. Become newly acquainted with how you are and how you're not experiencing yourself. How you are experiencing yourself and how you're not experiencing yourself. Is there love? Are you happy with you? Some people don't like themselves physically. You could be wonderful looking. I have felt, and I'll just be honest, I have felt ugly all my life. Unattractive all my life. To this day, I'm 60 years old, and I still struggle with feeling like I am a nice-looking person. I try to be. I fix my hair and face and shave and brush my teeth and try to wear some decent clothes that complement my personality. And most people who do that, even some of the most seemingly attractive people in the world, struggle with feeling attractive or being attractive. You can look attractive and not be attractive. You can be very pleasant to look at and be hell to be around. I know men and women that way. And you do too, probably, looking in the mirror. So this is a very personal and powerful prophetic and almost pathetic reality that we are as human beings. You are not who or what others think about you, part of the post again. You are who, what, and how you think about you and how you experience, express, and project that experience into the universe and to your universe. You're not what people think. You're what you think. You're not who people think you are. You're who you think you are. You're not how people experience you. You're how you experience you when no one else is around. The things you say to yourself, both under your breath and about yourself. You say things to yourselves. You say things about yourself. You think things about yourself that you may not say to yourself. And it's not all negative. You may really think you're great, but you never say it. And you never show it. And possibly you never really see it. You don't see your greatness. You think your greatness. And maybe you believe it. Or you think it and you doubt it. Or you wrestle with it. Doubt, you think it today and you don't. The word doubt is like the word double. They're spelled similar. One is D-O-U-B-T, doubt, and the other is D-O-U-B-L-E. A doubter is a doubt. You love you love you not. You love you love you, that kind of thing. He loves me not, she loves me. You're back and forth. A double-minded, daisuke in Greek, double spirit, a double-minded person is unstable or has no stability in all his or her ways. So you got to stop doubting yourself. Stop doubting your propensities or your capacities. You can do and be anything you can imagine, whether you perceive that as negative or positive. Because there's negative things you can imagine. You can imagine yourself a murderer and murder. You can imagine yourself a millionaire and be that. It's all in your hands. It's all in your heart. And a lot of it's in your head. Here's a question asked me yesterday or a couple of days ago after I posted our 20th wedding anniversary. In our society, a woman texts this to me. Facebook this message, I think. In our society, not many marriages make it to 20 years, and even less are celebrating that. Not many make it to 20 years, and those who do aren't celebrating it. You can mark it and not celebrate it. My journey, this lady says, to enlightenment has included so many people who are so unhappily married and most stuck because they don't want to disappoint God. Or sometimes they don't want to look like they don't have their stuff together, so since they're into new thought, and they name it and claim it and believe it and confess it and imagine it and all that stuff, and you create your own realities and you're in hell. I understand that. She didn't say all that. I added it. I was wondering, the person asked me, if you feel that every marriage is forever. Can it be you are with the wrong person? Because I talk about the wrong right person, and I'll use that poem at the close of this presentation tonight. In the church, we were always obviously taught wrong, that God has one, capital, she has bold-faced capital letters, one person planned for you. Could it be that we made a mistake and married the wrong one? Or as we evolve and grow and our partner doesn't? Can you outgrow your spouse? That is a very responsible and candid, clear, honest, earnest, and sincere question. I respect the lady or person, I think it was a lady, might have been a man, who wrote it. Because it really touches a reality that we all have to deal with. Now, if there are, I think there are like 5 to 7 women per man on the planet. So there's not one man for every woman. That's impossible. So it's, for you to have been told there's one person. What if that person is same gender? Oh, we got a little something going on there. What if you got 7 women? The Bible talks about 7 women to one man. That's going to leave some challenges out there. So you may wonder why there's so many same-gender loving people on the planet, and those numbers are increasing daily. That's an interesting, in fact, I never thought about that until tonight. That's a pretty interesting way. But anyway, in reference to your question, here's my response to this precious person's question. Some marriages die of natural causes, and nothing you do or don't do will save them. Other marriages die because of terminal disease or dis-ease, like lovelessness or total incompatibility. compatibility. Still others die suicidally. You self-sabotage. And some homicidally. The marriage was actually murdered through poison or other violent or violating weaponries. You can violate your own marriage. You can poison your own marriage. You can commit suicide or homicide emotionally to your spouse. I don't mean, naturally. But some people do commit suicide physically because of marriage or an unhappy one. They just commit suicide or homicide. Somebody kills their spouse. There's these, what do they call those murders? It slips my mind right now. When two people agree to die together. Or a suicide killing is what it is. A man kills his wife and then blows his brains out. You hear those kinds of stories. Sometimes it's the other way. A woman kills her husband and then herself. Why stay in a relationship that long? How can it be that ugly and that painful? What's wrong? When something dies, like a relationship, a business, even a ministry or marriage, do an autopsy, I say in response to this lady's question. Do an autopsy to discover the roots of the disease or the dis-ease that killed or made the marriage sick or the relationship sick, and why it wasn't properly treated, or perhaps how it was improperly treated, if treated at all. Sometimes we don't treat a disease. We see it as inoperable, like a tumor. I've heard of an inoperable tumor. You can still treat it. You just can't excise it. You can't go in. Sometimes it's attached to an organ. There can be a growth on an organ in your emotions that's so woven into it, like a tumor, and you can't actually excise it. There's some things in a marriage or in a relationship that cannot be excised or extricated. It's going to be there. And you just have to treat it with meditation and sometimes medication, with counseling, with a lot of forgiveness. I mean, there are ways to, if there's a malignancy in your mind or in your relationship or your marriage, sometimes it's not going to kill you. You're going to live with the cancer. You're going to live with the disease or dis-ease, if you can. Now, let the marriage die or you die. Don't you die. Don't kill yourself or commit suicide. Sometimes you got to make some adjustments. And I advise people that even as a Christian minister, all the years I did, the scripture says God hates divorce, but it doesn't say God hates divorcees. And that reference to divorce was not to human marital relationships. It was a reference to God's supposed love and romantic relationship with Israel, the children of Israel. And he didn't want to divorce his covenant with them or his commitment to them. But the inference in that passage is that he was tempted to. Even in Christian lingo, okay? If we're the body of Christ or the bride of Christ, the relationship is pretty stormy. If we're not even married to Christ yet, but we're called someday the bride, so that means we're betrothed to Christ as the church, the Christian church. It's a whole lot of splaining somebody got to do, because that relationship is pretty jacked, if I can use that term. So it's not a good example of how you want it to be. It just isn't. Here goes my daughter again blowing here. So once you have decided that the thing that you've done the autopsy, the relationship, you can see why and how it failed, or how the health, it was never really a healthy relationship. You got to move on to your next experience and expression of love and life without reliving or repeating the same pain or path that you've been in. Some of you have been through the same thing in 5 different marriages or relationships. And this is for single people too, because sometimes the divorce rate across the country is around 50 to 67%. But the numbers are dropping. The divorce rate is dropping because fewer people are getting married. Many folks are just deciding it's not worth that kind of covenant. I can have a covenant with you without having it on paper, and I don't want to legally be tied to you. That's what a lot of people are saying. They don't want that legal bind, that legal tie, so they go around it and they avoid it. But whatever happens, you must go on. You got to live, okay? You got to live with you. You got to live with your decisions. You got to live with your choices. It's not right or wrong, good or bad. It's choices with consequences or sequels. It's not like a bad marriage or a bad person. It's just you made that choice, and there's some sequels to it. And you never know a person until you've lived with them in a committed, monogamous, covenant, even if it's not legal or you didn't go before a preacher. You're basically married or buried, one of the two. You know, that's the way life is. So when you deal with it head on and you confront it as it really is, you're not so crippled. Marriage, like love, can be a form of insanity. I wrote this to somebody today. With the only asylum being a change of heart or an elevation of consciousness with regard to how you respond to or transcend a situation that you can't change, but only adjust to. Marriage, like love, I'll say it again, is a form of insanity. You can't be thinking purely. Sanitation. When it's not sanitized, that means it's imperfect. It's an imperfect thought. There's stuff floating around in that thought. There's smut and smudge and mud, and you can't see as clearly. You made the decision to make a covenant relationship with somebody. You entered that insanity. Now, I'm not demeaning it. I'm just saying that it gets crazy. Love can be crazy. Remember that song back in the 60s, Love Makes You Do Foolish Things? Sometimes it really isn't love, it's infatuation. But we're always in love with love. We have this fantasy about how it's all going to work out, and we keep believing that it's going to work out. And so we make that risk. Millions of people do it. So we have to learn how to transcend something you can't change. Love is not only patient, as the scripture says. Love actually is a patient. I've said this to you before. Those of you who may have heard that particular lecture. A patient is a recipient of health care or somebody who needs it. Love in a marriage can either be a disease or diseased itself. And it must be treated. It must be nursed. It must be nurtured consistently throughout its experience and expression. The whole time you love or are in love, you got to treat love like it is a patient, like it is a disease. Because there's a lot of dis-ease in love. Because you've heard me say this before. When you say you love somebody, you're saying really that you love the part of yourself that you experience when you're with that somebody. You do that at funerals a lot. I love this, I love my mom, I love my spouse. But you really did love them, but you loved your experience of them. Or how you experienced yourself when you were with them. So you really love yourself. And if you say, I don't like somebody, you're saying, I don't like how I experience myself when I'm with that person. Which leads me to say that the only person you'll ever really love or ever really like or not love and not like is you. It starts and stops with you. My 20-year marriage to my beloved wife, Gina, has never been anywhere close to perfect. It's been 20 years of hard and heart work with lots of postmarital counseling, as I said earlier. Something we committed to premaritally. We had to do it. Lots of repentance, a lot of forgiveness, lots of tolerance, along with the celebration and the unending adjusting that we had to do. Again, we've had some incredible times. Oh, my God. Our honeymoon was 3 weeks. Spent the first week at the Ritz-Carlton in Laguna Niguel, one of our favorite hotels on the planet, because it's right on the Pacific Ocean. You come out of your room and you go walk down some steps. And very close to our favorite restaurants, that little quaint city, Laguna Niguel. I love it so much. I'd love to retire out there someday. We spent our first week there. Then we flew to Hawaii. We spent a week in Lanai. Then we came back and spent 2 or 3 days in Oahu and Waikiki and rode mopeds and jet skied and parasailed and made wild, passionate love. We had a blast. Then we moved. Then we went to Beverly Hills, California, and stayed there a week back when Clarence McClendon and his first wife, Tammy, were together. They were very close friends of ours in those days, and we stayed in Beverly Hills. Then we went down to San Diego because I was scheduled already before I got married to speak at a singles conference with the Faith Dome, Fred Price's ministry. They had us in San Diego on an island in a wonderful hotel. I still did my singles thing, and I got to introduce Jenna to my family there. It was just wonderful, and that was it. Then the hard work. So when we got back home. But we went to all over the world. Gina flew with me, traveled, but we got to know each other the hard way. But we did get to know each other. And over 42 years of officiating marriage ceremonies and observing them afterwards, I've never witnessed one that was without major challenges and changes and deliberate choices that had to be made, managed, and mastered. Or perhaps I should say working toward mastery. I haven't mastered marriage. I'm still working toward it. It takes discipline and integrity and tenacity and prayer, a lot of prayer to survive love, or for love to survive and arrive and then thrive. It's a challenge. But it's a choice to make the challenge, to greet it head on. Love needs love, as I open the program with Stevie Wonder's song. Love needs attention. Love creates tension. Marriage is not just the coming together of two lives. I quote this from, actually I heard Miles Monroe say it years ago, but it's the collision of two histories. You bring all your baggage, and your spouse or partner brings all their baggage, and that starts with going with somebody. When my kids try to have girlfriends and boyfriends as teenagers, we always say, you don't need a boyfriend, you don't need to be going with nobody. They're going to do it, They make their little commitments and they sort them, but that's rehearsals. So let them do it. They need the rehearsal, because if the first time they go with somebody is when they marry, then they're going to have all kinds of trouble. So let teenagers do what they're going to do when it comes to having relationships. I'm not talking about sexual intimacy, which they tend to do that these days at higher numbers than maybe they did when I was younger. But life is life, and I'm learning how to roll with it. Just don't get so emotionally distracted or even so emotionally engaged in anything. Just wear it like a loose garment, because it can be too it's too rough, and it's too emotionally draining. Just relax. Don't expect your spouse to be perfect or even to be perfected. Let them mature, but remember there are certain entities in your marriage that are unexcisable. You cannot extract them. It's a tumor. It's a growth. It's like a cancer. But it's treatable. So treat it lovingly, tenderly. Sometimes you need invasive surgery. And when that is possible, it should happen. Sometimes that's through pretty tough love and counseling. Sometimes it involves a little bit of a separation. To rethink and to clear out your head. And yes, Christians do that. Sometimes I think that sex was created by God and marriage was created by man. Because, when you think about life and love, and those are abstract terms. They're difficult to tie down. They mean different things to different people. They're very delicate, very passionate, very sensitive terms. How many really happy marriages do you know of, including yours? Happening, but not always happy. You can have money and home and children and cars and good looks. Look at all these Hollywood marriages that follow. The good-looking couples, great kids, beautiful homes, both of them making money, or maybe just one of them making money, but it doesn't last. 20 years as a marriage counselor wrote me in response to some of the things I've said about marriage, and said that the average length of a marriage is 20 years. Now, those of us in the faith community, particularly ministers and preachers and all that stuff, pastors, we're supposed to have it all together. I often say dentists get cavities, mechanics' cars break down, oncologists die of cancer, cardiologists sometimes have to carry nitroglycerin. Some of the best athletes on the planet die running. They run every day. I have a friend, one of my best friends, Mike Taylor in Tulsa, just dropped dead. I've known him from riding his bicycle. We went to Hawaii together just probably 25, 30 years ago. And he took his bike. I said, I didn't even know him that well, but I didn't want to go alone. He was a member of my church, one of my deacons. And so I said, come on, son, go with me. He was a brother, not son. We're around the same age. He took his bicycle. And every single day when we were in Hawaii, I took a nap, he rode his bike. And his first wife died in childbearing. She was a precious woman. I dedicated that little baby, Nicole. He's now living with his second mother. But he was a very athletic. In fact, he'd come in from jogging or from biking and was talking to his son Cole and just dropped dead in the garage there. Nobody knew he had that, what they call the widowmaker. But he was very athletic. He ate well. He was a very calm man, never got too emotional, had a great sense of humor. I adored him. He was one of my dearest friends. And I remember seeing him in the hospital there at St. Francis in Tulsa. When I went to see him, he was already on life support. But his face was totally tensionless. There was no tension, no dis-ease at all. So I knew then he had transitioned. because you don't get that at ease in this life. There's always the tension. Even if it's the tension of meditating and doing yoga and trying to get to that place, that's tension too. Sometimes the physical contortions of the body. If you're praying, Om, Amen, I am, all those terms mean the same in the universe, send out certain vibrations. But that's an effort. Make sure you meditate every day. Make sure you pray every day. Make sure you read the scripture. Make sure you exercise. Make sure you eat the right. We go through these routines trying to get it right. And none of us gets it all right. We all kind of squander. But you don't give up on you. You do the best you can. You put forth the effort. And you rethink. Sometimes you cannot change the situation. You have to change your perception of it. It's going to get stormy here. They say that this part of the country, the Great Lakes in the Northeast, may have a moist and severe winter. Chicago is used to extreme weather changes. I was born in San Diego, California. There was no extreme temperature changes or weather climatic changes. About the same all year long in San Diego. Then I moved to Oklahoma, and fall was really fall. I saw the leaves fall, and I loved it. When I got there, it was like 100, like a 98 or 99 degrees, the jetway coming from the jet to the air into the terminal. I thought, my God, I had never experienced that kind of heat. In Arizona, it's dry heat. This was moist heat. I had never experienced it. I thought, what is this? But I made myself love it and adjust to it. Then the fall came and the leaves fell and they became beautiful. Even though the leaves are basically dying, but death is beautiful in its time. You like to go out, and I've been up in the Northeast and White Plains, New York, and all places like that in the fall. I love it. I could see trees right now. We can see thousands of trees from where we live. We're going to see these things change in just a matter of a few weeks as we go into the fall. And it's really the leaves dying and falling off the trees. But everything in its time is beautiful. It's breathtaking. We'll want to take pictures of it. It's going to be so fantastic. So it takes discipline and integrity, the integration of all the seasons and sessions, for you to behold. So I learned to appreciate the fall. Then when winter comes, I can't change the fall. I can't change the season. I can't change the session that I'm going through. But I can adjust to it. When the winter comes, we'll put on more clothes. I get my little leather jackets for the fall. I wear those lighter, heavy jackets. But when the winter comes, we have our overcoats, cashmere and wool, and I have a big old heavy leather jacket that's the warmest jacket I own. It's very insulated. And we put on the thicker boots and we get ready. We adjust. We don't complain or whine. Just deal with it. Adjust to it. It lasts its session a few months here. Then in the thaw of the spring, which is wonderful. I love the spring. I start taking stuff off. We start doing spring cleaning. We start adjusting and, opening the windows. We can actually have the windows open all day today because even though it was bright, beautiful sunshine, the weather was in the lower upper 60s and lower 70s. So I could open the windows here and not use the air conditioner. It was wonderful. I can go out on the terrace tonight if I want to because it's not cold and it's not hot. But it will be, and I will adjust. Your relationship may not be cold, but it will be, and you need to adjust. It may not be hot, but it will be. It may not be fall, or it may fall, or something may befall it. Adjust, or it may spring back, spring forward. There are different seasons in your relationship. Let me read this. I'm going to close with this poem. It's called Loving the Wrong Person. Let Your Scars Fall in Love by Gelway Kennell, who's an American Pulitzer Prize-winning poet and philosopher. I love this poem. We got a lot of response to it. And I've used it various times in my seminars and workshops. But listen to this. This is really neat. We're all seeking that special person who is right for us. But if you've been through enough relationships, you begin to suspect there's no right person, just different flavors of wrong. Why is this? Because you yourself are wrong in some way, and you seek out partners who are wrong in some complementary way. But it takes a lot of living to grow fully into your own wrongness. And it isn't until you finally run up against your deepest demons, your unsolvable problems, the ones that make you truly who you are, that you're ready to find a lifelong mate. Only then do you finally know what you're looking for. You're looking for the wrong person. But not just any wrong person, the right wrong person. Someone you lovingly gaze upon and think, this is the problem I want to have. I will find, and in fact I have found, that special person who was wrong for me in just the right way. Isn't that interesting? The right wrong person. There's some wrong persons, as the lady asked me earlier. Yes, and maybe you think you have that wrong. But anything is adjustable. Listen, the clock and the calendar must always be your friends, because they can prove, approve, or disprove, or really improve anything. Learn how to appreciate time. Learn how to take time and make time to heal. You know, sometimes just immediately addressing the symptom, pouring something on it, doesn't address the source. Love is symptomatic of a source, of a need for you to be ratified and affirmed and approved. Love is the symptom of that, but not necessarily the source of it. Because when I speak of love, I'm not talking about some wonderful benevolent thing. I'm talking about a disease. I'm talking about a sickness or an illness. And I know you've never heard it this way. I'm talking about that love is a patient. It is either a disease or love itself is diseased and needs a lot of tender, loving health care, a lot of patience, a lot of urinals and bedpans and bed baths and meditation with medication and changing linens and, washing, and it's engaging. It's consuming. Forget about your passion or your fantasy, but all the good stuff you think love ought to be. You got to take it like it is and deal with it, and then treat it like it is a patient. That might be your husband or wife. If you don't go into somebody's background and find out what causes them to react, their actions or reactions are symptoms of a source. Where there's root, there is fruit. And where there's fruit, there is root. If there's a lot of anger and dispassion and or passionate dispassion, they're distant and cold and always in winter, even when spring and when summer are supposed to be there, then check it out. Now, what if they don't want to go to counseling or they don't want to go to therapy and they're making you miserable? You have to decide what you're going to do with that part of it. If you're totally incompatible and it's just hell and you're never happy and you're miserable and you're beginning to resent and get hateful and do hateful, despiteful things, then you need to make a move. I'm telling you. You need to make a move before you allow yourself to be completely destroyed or to destroy yourself by gaining this horrible and garnering and nurturing this pain and this. It's one thing to nurse pain, and then another thing to nurture it. I mean, you're feeding nutrients to it. If you nurture it, you're treating it differently. You're trying to take the pain away. But anyway, you got to make those responsible decisions and choices on your own, and I expect that you will. I just want to offer a little guidance, a little advice, a little coaching on all this thing. Forget about the fantasy. Live in reality. Don't be definite. Just be infinite in yourself and in your soul. I'm going to bring this to a close. I'm going to go back to some of this wonderful music with Stevie Wonder, of Stevie Wonder's song. It's Charles Hall singing it. Love needs love, and you need love, and you're love. You are love. I embrace you. The force of evil plans, that is inaccuracies. To make you its possession, to make you very unhappy and miserable. And it will if you let it. Let it destroy everybody. We're not going to let it happen. Identify it. We all must take, I like this, precautionary measures. If love and peace you treasure, Love indeed. Love's in need of love today. You are in need of love today. Don't delay. Right away. Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, it's breaking many hearts. Hate. You don't want to hate. You won't hate. I love you. Thanks for your consciousness. Thanks for your time. Join me here October 14th through the 16th for this wonderful leadership summit. I call it Pentecostalism, though everybody's not from a Pentecostal background. But you come. And then remember, a year from October, we're going to Israel. You on the site there, look at the Israel trip. You ministers want to go. I think for every 5 people you invite, you get a free trip. And there's information on the site about that. It'll be the first ever radically inclusive Peace Holy Land tour. It's going to be a blast. We're going to meet with Druids, Muslims, Jews, Christians, go up to Haifa, to the Baha'i temple, and have panels and lectures, and we'll go into the Mediterranean Sea and ride across the Sea of Galilee and baptize in the Jordan for all of you who want that experience. It'll be great. So just study the site, learn what you can, and remember, all of you who can or will, we need all the support we can get financially. I need you to make a gift tonight of whatever amount that is. Okay, would you do that? $10, $20, $100, $1,000, $500. I need support. We can't expand without it. So we're doing the best we can, but we want to do so much more. And we're going to take this actually into the prisons right in the Cook County prison. The things I'm teaching will be great. Many people love what we say in the prisons. And so Gina and I both would love to go there, the male and female. But we need all the support we can get. So, if you're not a tither and you'd like to give 1/10 of your income to this, you enjoy me every week, or you go to the site and you get listen to these life-changing and impacting lectures, then just every time you do it, just what's $5 or $10? Some of you can give $20 a month, or $25 or $50. Some people actually are doing that, but a small number comparatively. And we're at a time fixed to go into the winter season, and we need a lot of support. And I advise you and really admonish you, because something happens in the universe. The universe honors your heart. I was getting a car wash today, and the gentleman I didn't really need it, but he stands there with his rag, and at least he ain't stealing. And maybe he can't find a job anywhere, so he stands there. And I always give him a little extra, because that's responsible trying to work. And when I drive out of the car wash, I do need my windows dried and things, because I go to one of those quick ones where I get my car filled up. But I gave it to him like as a gesture, and then he came back. When he saw what I gave, he came back and just did a little extra. After I was driving out of the parking lot, and he ran back to touch up something. I enjoyed that spirit and in him, and I always try to give a little extra in those kinds of situations. Well, we're washing your car, so okay, or your consciousness. So how about a little tip? Do something to show your love. I love you. Thank you so much for your time. Good night. Sorry I went over just a little bit, and sorry I started a little late, but it's all good, because it's all God. We'll see you again next time. Good night.